My wife admitted to an emotional affair 12 years ago and I can't stop thinking about it. Story 1. I'm a male in his early 50s married to a woman for 26 years. Although I've always been faithful, she's always been extremely jealous and interrogates me if I'm more than half an hour late coming home from work or the pubic hair in my underwear doesn't look like she thinks it should look. I once had to compare it to the hair on my body to prove it was mine. I'm ashamed to say that I actually did that. I once questioned her jealousy and said she must be projecting her guilt about something she did. She flatly denied it. About 12 years ago, I had an extremely demanding job working nights while she worked a day shift. I frequently came home mentally and physically exhausted, but I got the kids ready for school, dropped them off, ran errands, took a cat nap, then picked them up from school again before my wife got home and I could get some real sleep. By the time she got home I was too tired to spend much time with her since I had to try to get some good sleep in before returning to work. I made an effort to spend quality time with her and the family over my days off, but my wife said she still felt neglected. At this time, I was making nearly twice her income and I was proud of being able to pay the bills, but the exhaustive routine was sliding me into depression. When I expressed that I was in a bad place mentally and I needed a career change soon, she just told me to deal with it until I can find something else that pays the same because I was the main provider. That was not the supportive response I was looking for, so I soldiered on. My wife thought it would be a good idea to enter my oldest kid in a local karate class twice a week while I was home sleeping, and I thought I would be good for the family to get out of the house. My wife liked the class environment and said that there was an adult class right after the kids' class and she wanted to join. I really thought it was a good idea and I encouraged her to do so. I supported her progress as she graduated to higher levels and went to all the testing and new belt presentation ceremonies. She asked me to join too, but my work schedule made it difficult and it really was not for me. Then she started mentioning Herb, not real name. Herb had a daughter my kid's age and he was one belt higher than she was so he could help her learn her katas. Soon, they were taking the kids out for ice cream after class and to the park on afternoons when there was no class. I noticed that they were hanging out a lot, but my wife assured me that the kids were playmates and it was just play dates to get the kids out of the house while I slept. I didn't want to be that guy who was overly jealous and controlling, so I didn't interfere or give her a hard time about it. Eventually, I had what I considered to be a nervous breakdown. I was nearly suicidal with depression and quit my job after a particularly bad work week. I know that was a bad idea and wife was livid, but when I tried to explain my terrible mental state so she could understand that I was in a bad place mentally, she called me a weak loser and threatened to divorce me. Being free of the oppressive job and getting regular sleep worked wonders for my mental state and I was able to find a job within 2 months. Unfortunately it paid less, but it was rewarding and relatively stress-free. The job gave me the opportunity to transfer to a state in a southern climate. When I told my wife, she jumped at the chance to get away from cold winters. She said goodbye to Herb and her karate class and we moved south. 12 years later, I hold an upper management position and I am well paid and relatively happy. I thought my wife was as well, but lately, she has been distant and moody. I was researching infidelity issues because my siblings were dealing with it in their lives and I didn't know how to talk to them about it. My wife told me that she noticed me looking up infidelity advice videos on YouTube and it made her worry. That's where my current issue starts. I explained that I was trying to gather useful advice for my siblings because I had no personal experience to work from. We started to have a conversation about the topic and I noticed her becoming uncomfortable. Then I tried to put her at ease by saying that I am too aware of the negative consequences of infidelity and I wouldn't be able to feel good about being with someone else knowing that I was betraying someone who loved me. She responded with, "So you're saying you've thought about it?" I explained that I only thought about the negative aspect of the scenario. I wasn't fantasizing about anyone in particular. This was true. I have never even come close to considering an acquaintance or coworker as an affair partner. She still insisted that I had just confessed to thinking about having an affair with someone. She seemed relieved at her perceived confession and tells me that she thought of it too. I asked what she meant and she explained that when I was working the night shift she felt abandoned and I wasn't giving her the attention that she needed. When she met Herb in karate class, He paid her compliments and gave her the attention that I wasn't giving her while I was home sleeping. She said there were several times that he came over with his kid and they took walks to the park where they would talk while the kids were playing. He talked about the issues with his wife and she complained about me. She felt that their time together was rewarding and looked forward to seeing him every week. I asked her if talking was all she did and she said yes, but if he had made a move to kiss her she wouldn't have stopped him. She went on to say that if we hadn't moved away they would have had time because she would have made a move on him. She said the only reason he didn't do anything was because he was afraid of his wife, but she was definitely emotionally involved. I said that was nothing like me imagining a negative infidelity scenario and that she just admitted to an emotional affair with him. Well, you're guilty of the same thing because I was just thinking about it too. Anyway, it was a long time ago and I'm still with you. She saw that I was getting upset and seemed shocked. I asked if there was anyone else and she said no. I said I couldn't discuss it anymore and I had to process what she told me. Now I can't sleep because I can't stop thinking about it. Why would she bother telling me something like that knowing it would hurt me? Is there more to her story that she's leaving out? I'm terrified that this is a trickle truth situation and there is more that she is holding back. It's almost like she pounced on my statement of thinking about infidelity as an opening to share her situation as if they were equally bad. Am I missing something? Should I look into this further? My gut tells me this might lead to something deeper and it terrifies me. Any advice is welcome. Story 2. Wife had an emotional affair, will end the marriage and I'll lose the kids. We've been married 8 years with 2 beautiful children, 6 and 7, whom I love with all my heart. I'm 37 and she's 34. Out of the blue a week ago, she reacted badly to a mess on the kitchen counter, which evolved into this full fight about how she feels like I'm her maid. For context, I do the laundry, sometimes I cook dinner, I send the kids to school and enrichment, because I want to. But this time I was lazy and didn't clear the counter. The talks we had after this fight ranged from her talking about her regrets, where she used to be really outgoing, but is now saddled with responsibilities, to talking about our love and time life. Now I admit my fault in the marriage. I've never been good with showing love, though I do say it through words. I've told her how she's my rock, and how grateful I am when she pulled me out of a couple of depressive periods. As for our time life, I have a pretty low one. But I do try to initiate. Got shot down sometimes. Other times when she initiates, I'll need to react enthusiastically immediately, if not she turns over and gets upset. Then it becomes me who's groveling for time, which of course doesn't happen. Anyway, back to the fight. I acknowledged my fault in the breakdown, and vowed to do better, and she just reacts like it's a lost cause. She tells me to do what I need to, and give her some time. So I gave her space while making sure I'm more attentive around her and the house. Over the next few days I start noticing her constantly on her phone. She's usually just watching Netflix, and also taking calls late into the night. In one of our talks after the fight, she mentioned what if I found someone else. Putting 2 and 2 together, I confronted her and asked if there's someone else. Of course there is. It's a guy she met online a few days before our big fight. He's from another country, and she hasn't even met him in person. I fought back the urge to react with anger, and the topic of ending the marriage came up. Over the next few days, we've had talks about the options we have. Today, she came to me with an option. Continue to live in the same house and co-parent the kids. It's a partnership and no longer a marriage. Explain to the kids what's happening to help them understand. I told her, so you want me to continue living here while watching the woman I love give herself to someone else? Of course she reacted negatively. I asked if she was still talking to him after I confronted her, and she said yes. Some more background: both of us came from broken families. I myself from one where my mom cheated on my dad and moved out when I was 10. We resolved to never have our kids go through the same thing. But here we are. It's this point above that made her emotional. Because I want to show the kids that relationships can end, and let them see how to gracefully exit one with minimal hurt to everyone around. We're still trying to figure this out. Also, my dad is living with me. I convinced him with my wife's blessing to move into my spare room and rent out his apartment so he can retire. He's pushing 80, healthy, and the kids love him. If I go, it'll probably force him to leave too. When we part ways, the kids are my biggest worry. I could kick her out. She said she will accept it if that is my decision. But she is the mother of my children, and I don't want them to see something so ugly. If it goes to court, then I'm sure to lose the kids because my country has a very strong law that sees children from divorced parents end up with their mother. I've been having anxiety over the last few days just thinking about not being with my children. I don't know what to do from here. Anyway, thanks for hearing me out.